Can't tell if we're live or not. Is it showing for you?
1 second.
Oh, yep, there we go. All right, welcome everyone to Gotham City Bulletin. I am subject, the man who's tired, 879. We have Robert breaking things wild.
Hello.
And we're here to talk about an episode of the Penguin.
Yeah.
Robert, I don't want to give my thoughts away too fast, but can I just say that I think Colin Farrell as the Penguin has already kind of cemented himself in my top 10 comic book movie villains.
Wow, that high.
No, I adore this
He's
Penguin.
we'll get into it, but every time you think they're probably gonna make him more of an anti-hero, try to, make him more sympathetic. Like he does some dark stuff in this episode. Like he's still a villain.
And see, it's funny you say that because after the first episode, I was under no illusions that we were going to go that route. So even with the fake, I was like, no, he's going to do something else. Did you have that with this episode? Like, did you think, oh, we're still going to go the anti-hero route?
I wasn't necessarily thinking that. He just made a couple choices that I didn't see coming. I was like, oh, we're going there. Okay.
So what I'm hearing is you have no faith in this universe, Rob.
That's exactly what I'm saying, yeah.
I mean, I'm still waiting for that announcement that the Batman 2 is going to be canceled, but
I never said that was going to happen. I said I was worried that was going to
happen. So this, I'm trying to pull it up here. Yeah. So we start with Sophia, which I thought was interesting. And we get to see Arkham, and it's Arkham like we saw in the Batman. And I think this is where we learn what she did, right? They don't go into details,
yeah.
but we kind of learn she's killed a lot of people.
Yeah, they do confirm that she was a serial killer. I think they said 7 women.
Yes.
So that'll be interesting when we get more details on that.
Yeah, I'm curious because you don't go to Arkham just for murder.
Mm-hmm.
Like, was she dressing up? Was she?
Why was she called the Hangman?
Yeah.
But she was declared insane. Enough to go to Arkham.
Ooh, or maybe that's like her family kind of pushing its weight around. Like, oh, you won't go to Blackgate, but we can't get you off scot-free because you're sloppy, so we'll send you to Arkham.
Mm-hmm. No, that's a great call. That's very possible.
But yeah, and we kind of see how she sees her brother's death, like this horrible, violent thing, and it's interesting because I don't get the vibe that anybody else gives a shit.
Right.
Yeah, she's another day in the office.
They give him a funeral. It's a nice funeral. They play family videos.
Yeah, and nobody there cared except her. She continues to be one of the best things about this. It took me a minute to figure out after the first episode that is the mom from How I Met Your Mother.
Oh.
Which it's really funny now when I see her because like I know where I've seen you from.
I've seen her in Palm Springs, the comedy movie.
I have not seen that.
It's pretty good. It's a riff on Groundhog Day, but I liked it.
I've heard
she's great.
Jesse Sandberg, right?
What is it? Andy Samberg?
That's that guy's name. Andy Samberg. Why do I think Jesse? Brooklyn.
You got to mix with Jesse Eisenberg. Yeah, that guy. Because that. Have you seen Groundhog Day? Like, do you know what the?
I know about it. I don't know if I've seen it.
Yeah, Palm, because it's like the guy who lives the same day over and over again. The Palm Springs twist on it is they turn it into more of a romantic comedy where it's 2 people who are living the same day over and over again who don't really know each other that well initially. So that's their twist on it. But it's a fun movie, and she's great in it. But when she was cast as Sophia, it was like, huh, that's an interesting choice. But she is continuing to impress me in the show. She is excellent.
Yeah, so I'm a little out of my depth here with this show because I am not a crime guy. I've only seen Goodfellas, and I didn't really care for that. Is this more of your up your alley, or are you just in it for the Penguin like I am, or for the Batmanness of it all?
I'd say both. I'm not like a massive crime guy, but I like a lot of crime movies. I like a lot of crime shows. There are a lot of tropes and story beats that this is doing that I've seen elsewhere, but not in a derivative or okay, yeah, I get it. I've seen it before kind of way. It's just like, yep, this is my flavor. This is just the type of thing I like.
Yeah.
We meet some new key characters in this episode. We get what's his name? Is it Luca Falcone? Her uncle, who's now trying to take over. We meet her therapist, who is played by Theo Rossi, who you might remember from Luke Cage if you watched that. It's kind of interesting because everyone, rightly so, when this started, were making comparisons to the Daredevil show, the Netflix Daredevil, where it's like, oh, it's like that show, but if it was just about the Kingpin and didn't have Daredevil in it, because it's got a similar vibe. Now there's some bleed through with some actors, because you got Theo Rossi and another actress who's in the Baroni family, who I cannot for the life of me pronounce her name, but she has an amazing voice. We meet Salvatore Moroni's wife in this episode, and she plays a key role. And she's been in a bunch of stuff. She was in Netflix's The Punisher, so she's also from that universe. And you may know her from X Men: The Last Stand. She's like one of the doctors who's working with the kid,
Oh, is that
the
the?
MacGuffin kid.
That's the. Yeah, no, she's like a
She's got a
character.
really distinct voice. Yeah, it's like you
Yes,
know that voice.
she's in Destiny.
Oh, okay.
Um,
She's
what is
tons of
her?
stuff.
I'll pull this up, but keep going.
Yeah, I can't for the life of me pronounce it, but she's awesome. She has a wonderful voice. So these are some of the new players we're meeting, and it was just nice to see Sal again because Clancy Brown's so good. I hope that's just a regular thing for each episode. I hope we keep getting scenes with him, but now we see more of his crew and his wife, and that his wife's really kind of taken over for him. Like, oh, so the Brodies are more of a player than we realize. Still, just his wife's running things. So that's interesting. And we have Oz just working these two families against each other. He's playing everybody, has to keep thinking on his feet. A lot of great tense stuff in this episode.
Yeah, no,
And
this honestly is more real schemer Penguin and less
yeah,
fly by his pants Penguin. Like he doesn't control in this episode.
yeah, except for when he's not like the big, not heist, but like the big hit when the convoy is like ambushed and he's not supposed to be there. And then Johnny Vitti says, "No, you got to go with him," and he's like, "Crap,"
Did that feel
because
a
these
little
guys are all gonna die.
contrived to you? Like, oh, we
Uh,
gotta make sure that this can't all go smoothly for him.
it hasn't felt contrived yet. It's just like, yeah, there's always issues that you can't see coming, and we've already established that VD, has issues with him, is going to be a jerk any chance he gets. So
Mm-hmm.
that's all playing for me so far.
Okay. The scene that stuck out to me at the funeral is you meet her cousin, and they talk about like partying, and then there's a weird moment where I couldn't tell if it was like she extends the formalities like, oh, we should get together, and then it's the idea is that like now she's scared of her because this cousin is when she's had a kid, probably settled down, and so Sophie, what the hell's her name? Sophia Falcone
Sophia.
kind of represents that past, like that now they're no longer on the kind of same page. Is that what you got from that?
Yeah, I thought that scene was great, because they used to be close back in the day when they were younger. But the vibe of the scene changes when her daughter shows up. And then there's a great moment when Sophia like introduces herself to her daughter, and then her friend or cousin or whoever, she like instinctively puts her arm around her daughter's shoulder and kind of grips it tightly, like so you can tell she's nervous. So the idea is like she's comfortable around Sophie and is like, hey, we should hang out. But once her daughter is there, then it's, oh, I'm still kind of scared of you, or like, hey, don't touch my daughter. And again, what we know of Sophia's past is she's only killed women, apparently. And how old were these women? We don't know. I don't remember they say women or girls, but so there's a lot going on. But I thought that scene was great. And then Sophia just milks it, where she's like, "Oh no, let me fix your hair," like because she could tell she's uncomfortable, and that makes her very angry. And it's a super uncomfortable scene. I loved it.
No, it's so good. Yeah, no, I thought that was interesting. They do make a state of it's women.
Okay. But still, if it's your kid, like that's gonna change your priority or
percent. And I could also see that her being like she was the party girl, but now she's settled down. She's gotten out of the life. Like she's here as a formality.
Yeah, for sure.
Still no Mark Strong. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, because even the flashbacks you get aren't really flashbacks. It's kind of a vision dream sequence. The good moment where it's like her seeing her brother visiting her, but he's missing the finger, so oh, this isn't entirely real. And we find out it's in her therapy session with Urasi. And of course, now the article's out of like, did the Penguin just introduce Hugo Strange? It's like, no, this guy's not credited as Hugo Strange. We can have a psychiatrist who's a different character.
I hate modern journalism. Yeah, and so like, but what's hard with this episode is this is way less of a complete piece than that first episode is.
Right. Yeah, totally.
How I feel about this episode may change next week or 6 weeks from now, depending on how this all ends. I cannot tell where this is going. I do, because when you and Cap talked about this, Cap was like, I don't know how they stretched this out for 8 weeks. I do kind of wonder about that. Is like, can we keep this going for 8 weeks? Do you think, because Austin mentioned that a lot of reviewers said something wild happens like in episode 4, and that's where it clicks. And that episode is called Sentani. Can't pronounce that. So do you think maybe that's where this ends and then like the show just radically shifts? Or are we going to keep this going for 8 episodes?
It's possible. I mean, like, I'm not trying to pay too close attention to that stuff because I don't really want to be spoiled. But the vibe I've gotten from some reviews, some say it's episode 3, others say it's episode 4. When like the show shifts or like, whoa. So I don't know. Like this is definitely not as packed as episode 1 was. And of course, a big part of Oz's plan is just trying to get everyone to turn on Vitti. He tries to frame him as the traitor and get him killed. And of course, an obstacle gets him in his way that prevents him from doing that, which I think is fine. And, I've seen a lot of these movies. I've seen a lot of these shows. For myself, I know you can tell these types of stories long form over many, many hours, and it won't get boring for me. So it's not really an issue for me yet. It could just be like, it could be a thing where in 5 episodes, it's like, okay, now it's getting repetitive, but it's not there yet for me. I'm still really engaged. It's just, I just want more.
Yeah. And to its credit, because, and this is where I struggle with, like, am I only liking this because it's a Batman thing? Because I don't know if you remove all the Batman stuff, if I still enjoy this as much. This episode is never boring.
No, it never dragged for me. And again, for myself personally, if you just change the names of all these characters, like I'd still be having a good time. I still like the drama and this protagonist we're following and his issues and obstacles. So like, I think I'd still be engaged well enough.
Yeah, but I mean, if this wasn't Batman, I mean, more of that would change. Like the Penguin, the Colin Farrell's character wouldn't be characterized the way he is. You wouldn't have like Sophia, who she is. Like, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think if you're making a comic property, it should live and die on the property that you're adapting. And it's always weird when people are like, "Oh, if this wasn't a Batman thing, you wouldn't like it." Well, yeah, I'm watching a Batman thing.
No, like if Iron Man 3 wasn't about Iron Man and wasn't directed by Shane Black, you wouldn't like it. It's like you said,
that's
like yeah.
But it's kind of cool that I have like a crime thing where I'm like, oh, at the very least, you put Batman stuff in it, and I see why people like this. And I think this was always the best way to do it because personally, I wouldn't want a whole trilogy on crime, like street crime again.
Right.
I want them to get to supervillains. So I think this is the best way to do it. And I do still think this is going to be the end of the old guard, the Falcones, the Maronis, and Penguin is going to lead this like new wave of super criminals.
I mean, like, I guess prediction time. Sal Maroni in the comics, he's the guy who famously throws acid on Harvey Dent's face and is responsible for him becoming Two-Face. So we don't do that in adaptation a lot. Like we do put Maroni in the Dark Knight, but it's kind of a misdirect because we end up going a different route. But now I'm wondering if Sal doesn't survive the show, if we give that to his wife, and if we make that work, if they're setting her up to be
What if
kind of
that's the
become
finale?
bigger. Maybe. I mean, obviously they have to introduce Harvey Dent first, so I don't know when we're gonna get that stuff. But based on this episode, I'm like, I think Sal's wife's gonna be a pretty big player.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would be fine if that's where they introduce him, just because where would you introduce the DA in this show? You just introduce him, Gotham's DA Harvey Dent is concluding the trial with Maroni, and then boom, acid.
Yeah, for sure.
And then you could do in the Batman 2, because I assume that's also going to be close to 3 hours. You could do some of the Harvey Dent stuff.
Yeah, totally.
But anyway, we get a No Man's Land reference in this. Did you catch that?
Yeah, when the girl said, "What are we, some kind of no man's land?"
That's exactly what she said. No,
that was a good reference. That made me happy.
That is one thing that I hope this show does is like the flood has kind of just been the background. I'd like to see those like flooded off areas of Gotham and like how they're dealing.
I would too, and hopefully we get some of that stuff in the Batman 2, especially if that picks up immediately after the Penguin and this is all in the same year. But obviously, for the show, budget's a factor. Water's really expensive on sets, so that hasn't bothered me yet. But like, I'm with you. I'd like to see some of that stuff up close.
It's not an issue. I think it will continue to be an issue if we just talk about it. Show me what you're talking about. I'm having trouble getting like an image of it.
Yeah, I mean, they at least set some stuff up when we're like Vic, Penguin's right hand man. They imply that like his home was destroyed in the floods, so we don't really know. He apparently has some family member who's trying to contact him or stay in touch. We'll see where that goes. And this happened faster than I was expecting. We get Oz's kind of first big fight with him, or not even fight, like the big lecture where he says, "Hey, you screwed up. Like maybe you're not cut out for this." We got to that point faster than I was expecting, and it already has me wondering, like, does this end with Vic turning on Oz? Because that relationship's already fracturing a bit. Did that surprise you?
Sorry, say that last part again.
Do you think Oz and Vic's relationship is already fracturing? Were you surprised by some of their scenes in this?
No. I think it's essential that Vic fail at something this big. Because this is the first time anything he's done could have gotten him killed. He gets caught and he freezes. It would be weirder if Penguin was just like, that's all right. We'll get it next time. Almost got him.
Almost got him. It's a bit of a abusive relationship.
Yeah, no,
already. Oz is very pissed.
It's very traditional Penguin. Like, as long as you're doing good, we're cool. You do bad, we're not gonna be cool. But the question remains, and where do you think we're going? Is he not going to be able to adapt to this lifestyle and it gets him killed? Or does he adapt and kind of become Penguin's right-hand man?
At this point, I don't know either. Like, I could see Vic turning on him at some point, or I could see someone like Sophia approaching Vic and being like, "Hey, I still don't fully trust this guy. What can you tell me that he hasn't told me?" And if she tries to befriend, I mean, that's just speculation. I don't know. But
I think that's the obvious thing to do is at some point she does go after him. Because I guess he's gonna be the antagonist of this season.
That was my guess, and I still think that's where we'll go. But in the context of this episode, she is starting to warm up to Oz a little. Like they are starting to actually team up. Like it takes a while for her to really currently be convinced of, okay, Oz didn't kill Alberto. Let's work together. You've proven yourself, and of course this is gonna blow up in his face at some point. But so far, him trying to get Sophia on his side has actually started. Because a big scene of this episode is when Oz has to kill the guy that she had kidnapped, which is the darkest part of the episode. When Oz got into that fight with Vitti, were you thinking, oh, he's gonna plant the knife on Vitti and it'll be really obvious, but
That's what I was
characters
thinking.
aren't gonna. And then they completely threw me for a loop when he planted it on that other guy who he was nice to earlier and got him killed. But so he planted the knife on someone that I was not expecting. And thought ahead later. And not just that, they also planted the diamonds in his apartment. So from Sophia's perspective, it's like, okay, this guy killed Alberto. He's 100% guilty. She's not thinking, oh, maybe someone planted the knife on him. Like, there's also the diamonds on top of that. So she's currently convinced.
Really thoughtful show about that stuff, and it all tracks.
Yeah, so far it's tracking. Because I was worried, oh, go on.
It never has that Dark Knight thing. It was like, how did Joker do this or know this?
Yeah, there's a lot you have to just go with. But I was worried that we would get to a point where it's like, okay, there's too many of these situations that Oz has been in and around where people should be suspecting him or figuring out that he's playing both sides. But so far, that's not a problem yet. It is really well thought out and believable.
Yeah, we get our first retired GCPD officer who's addicted to whatever this eye drop drug is.
The drops, yeah. That guy was interesting. I was like, this looks like someone I've seen before, but I don't know. He had a really distinct
I have that too.
He's probably not surviving this show.
Probably not. I like that in a modern day, people still like carry bundles of cash. Let's see. What else should we talk about, Robert?
Well, we got some action, and this is part of the. Do you watch the behind the scenes clips after the episode? Just a little bit of behind the scenes trivia. So during the action scene with the shootout, part of how they did that was they rigged these fake guns with blinking lights on them that simulate muzzle flashes. So that's how they handled the prop guns, which I thought was interesting. Just another way to like try to get out of using real guns and blanks on movie and TV sets to avoid accidents or danger. I just found that interesting, because the more technology evolves, the easier it is to just both practically and digitally make that stuff look convincing, and it looked totally fine. It was a really intense chase.
The action in the show is pretty good, and it works for that lower budget. It's like, this isn't an action show; it shouldn't be actiony.
Right. We're putting Oz in believable situations that he can handle. Yeah. Like he's firing a gun.
His waddle is way more noticeable in this episode. I don't know if you had that. It's so good.
My favorite line was when he's walking with Sophia and she's walking really fast because she's pissed. He's like, "What are we walking a marathon?" Like, because he's really struggling to keep up with her. It's great.
And I know this matters to some people. I never cared, but there's a lot of smoking in this episode.
There is, and again, it's totally possible. Like that could have just been digital smoke and fire. Like, I don't know if he's actually smoking on set, but if he's not, it looks convincing.
I feel
like I'm glad that they kept that part.
Be like, yeah, let me just do it.
He could. I don't know, but I like that the Penguin smoking cigars is like a big thing that we're not afraid to show and include. I don't know how you put him in that monocle and sell me on it, but I'm not opposed to it.
Just give me the monocle, man.
I love the monocle. I'm okay. I probably shouldn't bet money on this. I'd be shocked if we don't get him at least to the top hat at some point. I think they'll work that in somewhere. Like if it's they go to a costume party or something where they can have the monocle. I think they'll do something like that where they put him in the top hat.
I
That's what I'm
feel like because we set up the idea here that he wants to open a new club, and it's
Mhm.
going to be like more high end, rich and snazzy than the Iceberg Lounge. Hopefully, he names it the Iceberg Lounge so we can keep that. But I
Mhm.
feel like that's where you get it right. Like he's trying to fit in with those people that attend his club.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it makes sense that he wouldn't have that with the Iceberg Lounge that we get in the Batman, because it's much more, the lower end of the totem pole of criminals.
Hmm. And I guess the other thing we should talk about, kind of a funny scene because he's late to the funeral, and Sophia's like, I didn't see you, and he's like, I was in the back. It's like, I
Yeah,
just don't
doesn't
lie
he say
about
like
that.
I didn't know you was looking or something like that?
Mm.
No, he had a
But
really cool speech there to her too.
he does. Well, and it's interesting trying to discern because obviously we, the audience, are privileged to more information that Sophia has, but discerning between the truth and the lie. Because he mentions that his brothers are dead, which I believe him on. I think all that stuff's true. But then when he starts talking about his mother, he then tells her that she's dead, that she died a few years ago, and
I
she's obviously
caught that and I was like, wait a minute, am I missing something?
yeah, no, and that's what I was figuring was that he was keeping his mom alive like a secret. That's why she's kind of stuck in that house in the middle of nowhere. She's not allowed to go out. Like I don't know if like this is a lie he told like Falcone or something, but in this conversation with Sophia, like that's clearly something he's trying to keep secret because he's trying to protect his mother. And that's the other big thing we see in this episode is that his mother's dementia is getting a lot worse because
Mhm.
the landlord catches her like trying to go to mass even though it's not Sunday, and that's why he's late to the funeral. It's because of this hang up with his mother, so he has to go see her for a minute.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm trying to think. Sorry, I had to watch this the minute I got off work, and then I watched two movies, so some of this isn't sticking with me.
That's fine.
Let's see.
But I think this episode gets enough done. It's following up what we got in the first one. We get some new characters. It's a natural continuation. It's one of those like, yeah, it's not as good as the first episode, and it's not trying to be, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Not every episode needs to be over an hour and have all this gigantic stuff. Like it's a TV show. You can let an episode just be good. Like
The last thing I
this
want to
episode
talk
two.
about is the setup at the end of this episode, which has me very excited. Uh, so after he threatens Victor, he's called to Sophia because they're going to send her to Italy, which I thought was a cool nod. Because obviously in Long Halloween and what's it, Dark Victory, I feel like Italy has something big there with Rome or something.
Yeah, for sure.
And then she wants him to help her take out all the Falcons.
Hmm.
So I forgot about that. All right, so my theory is they're going to succeed, and then she's going to find out that he's working both angles, and the
Hmm.
Falcons are going to be weakened, and she's the only one standing between him and control of Gotham.
Yeah, for sure. It's gonna be a bloodbath. That's the thing. A lot of characters I think are gonna die in this show. Um,
So I
like
and
like I said with the Maronis, like either Sal dies or his wife dies, but like there's no way both of them survive this show. And then Sophia's uncle, he's probably gonna die. And then Sophia, might not make it. But yeah,
I hope it
I'm in
just
for the
goes
ride.
like full Punisher 2004 at the family reunion.
Oh God, this could end with a big bloodbath. Maybe that's the big thing that happens in episode 4. I don't know, or
So
episode 3.
if I have one complaint, and this is a very like minor, I just can't find anything else to complain about. I noticed Batman's absence a lot in this episode.
that hasn't bothered me yet because I think it's this one. It's either this one or the first one where they do mention, like crime has gotten worse. The floods caused a lot of damage. It's like
It's this
like
one.
look, Batman's busy. It's a big city. There's a lot going on. That hasn't been a problem for me yet.
No, that was a plausible explanation, but I was also like, I don't know. I wish they'd just let him be in this for a bit.
Yeah, it's one of
Gotham Central
those things. Yeah, and when you have like a big shootout or a car chase or something, you could have the Batman show up in one of those sequences, and then Penguin has to get out,
Yeah.
or not be seen by them. Like something like that would be fun. Like that'd be cool.
Yeah, that's all I mean. And like I said, that's just so I can't find anything else to complain about. Like, I gotta complain about something.
Like I said, for me, this is like a 7 or 8 out of 10 episode. That's fine. It's episode 2.
If I'm giving them numerical ratings, as we didn't last time, I'd give the first one like a 9. I'd give this one like an 8.
Yeah, like it's not as good, and that's fine. It's the premiere has to get a lot done, and it succeeded, and now we're just continuing this. And I agree with your concern or Cap's concern that this could get too repetitive or feels too stretched out. I'm not there yet. Like if we get to episode 3 and we're still introducing new characters, then that could start to become a problem. Because like I said, we do get some new players in this one, and I think we've got enough. Like we've got a pretty big board.
Yeah, we got the board. Now we got to start taking them out.
Mm-hmm.
Or else we'll end up with the Walking Dead problem.
Or the Stranger Things problem.
Yeah.
And chess, the pawns go first.
Yeah, and I mean, part of the problem with reviewing a show like this week to week is I don't know where it's going. So I don't want to complain about something and then, the payoff to this is actually really cool. Like Austin had with the, like, I don't know about this Victor kid, but then the payoff is really good.
Right.
Oh, okay. Here's my last question for you. How do you feel about cilantro?
I don't have an opinion on it.
It tastes like fucking soap.
I don't think I've had it, and based on this episode, I don't want to, which is probably going to piss off someone.
There is no way you haven't had cilantro. You live in the West.
I don't think I have.
Go eat some cilantro and report back.
No, that's a great funny scene though. I like.
No, it is. Sadly, not as good as the pickle bit, but
no, it's not. But again, they still have some fun banter. Yeah. And I liked that party with Penguin's, I guess, kind of girlfriends and her friends. And there's the one girl who's talking to the younger girl's talking to Vic and kind of hitting on him, and they have a little moment. That's where you get the No Man's Land reference. Like there's some good stuff.
Did you have a bit of Uncanny Valley? Where I know this takes place in modern day, but it's kind of classical in that way. And then you introduce that one girl that's chatting up Vic, and she's like an OnlyFans girl or something.
Oh yeah, that didn't distract me because I don't know who that is. That's one of those things where she was fine.
I mean, I don't know who she is, but it's just weird. Like everybody else is very classical, like they're either the mob or just like a kid that runs the streets. And then you have an OnlyFans model. Or it's not exactly OnlyFans, but she does a similar thing where she does like basically like sex streams and stuff.
I guess that's fine, just because we often in Gotham or Batman fiction see them just adapt to the times and introduce those things. So I don't think that's a big issue.
No, it's not a huge issue. It's weird. You would think for this kind of show she'd just be a prostitute.
Yeah, but it's trying to do both. It's trying to be kind of timeless and out of time. But we also literally say it's 2022, and have modern references like that. But so far, I think they've had a good balance.
Pick one, goddammit. Robert, any final thoughts or anything else you want to talk about with episode 2 of the Penguin?
No, I think we covered it. Fun episode, good episode. I'm looking forward to the next one. I can't wait to see where it goes.
Yeah, I'm excited. Stay tuned. We will be back next Monday with a discussion on episode 3. None of these will be very long. We'll be lucky if we get to 30 minutes with each one, just depending on how much meat is on the bone. And then Robert,
Yeah, for sure.
I said I will be uploading all of these into a super 8-hour edit, which will be fun. But as always, it's been a pleasure. And we'll do commentaries, I think, when the show is done, maybe.
That
could
could
be
be a
fun.
thing. Yeah, that could be a fun thing. Maybe in the lead up to the Batman 2,
Yeah.
to a marathon at least. Yeah.
Let us know what you think about this show in the comments below. And we will see you not this Friday, but next Friday. Have a good night,
Correct.
everybody.
But we might be here Sunday.
We will be here Sunday. Robert complains, but we have to actually play video games.
Yeah, stay tuned to see John finish Batman Vengeance.
Vengeance. Way to date this commentary or this review. Anyway.
Oh no, you can cut that out.
Have a good night, everybody.
Later.